Portrait photography is one of the most popular type of photography out there, but it is more than just taking a snap of the person in front of you. There are a lot more aspects that a photographer must consider, and this can be a struggle for some people, especially if they have no idea what they're doing. So in today's video, let's talk about a few things you can try right away and take your portrait photography skills to the next level. The first thing you should focus on is to establish a very good connection with your subject. Other than your lighting and your techniques, I believe that having a good connection with your subject is the foundation of a good portrait. Your subject is the most important aspect in portrait photography. If you as a photographer put a lot of effort to connect with your subject, you will find yourself in a much easier situation during the photography session. For my work, I always make sure that I am very familiar with my subject's interests and passions. This helps me establish a very good conversation with them during the shoot. I do my best to help out my subject to feel as comfortable as possible by setting up a good environment, especially if we're in studio. I also make sure that they are aware of what I expect out of the shoot. I communicate with them what I am looking for and what my thinking process is. I make sure to ask them if there will be anything they will be uncomfortable with. This will help me avoid situations that might slow us down during the shoot later on. I show them sample photos and inspirations and keep them engaged by having them share their own ideas as well. Having a subject that is not comfortable with what is happening would lead to very bad photos, so you really have to put a lot of effort on this matter. This leads me to my next tip. Make sure you put a lot of focus on your subject's eyes. The eyes are called windows to the soul for a reason. They are very powerful and full of emotions, so I always make sure that I put a lot of emphasis on them. I always encourage my subject to talk through their eyes, and my job as a photographer is to capture all of those emotions as clear as possible. It doesn't matter how perfect the location or your lighting is. If your subject's eyes are not in focus, your photo would most likely be bad. My next tip is don't be afraid to encourage movements and capture raw, candid emotions. Posing your subjects can be restricting at times, and you might be limiting yourself this way. Some people are just not comfortable when they're posing, and it might be best to just let them loosen up and feel more natural. When I want my subjects to smile, I make sure to have a constant fun conversations with them during the shoot. I will continue to build that up until I get that natural looking sparkle in their eyes and their smiles. Encouraging them to be playful by showing movements and enjoying the session will sometimes lead to better results than directing them to pose, which could possibly lead to stiff-looking photos. Forcing my subjects to smile and cutting through the process does not work for me, which is why I always make sure to establish that positive comfort level between my subjects and I right away. My next step is to find the right location for your portrait shoot. Whether it is outdoors or indoors, at the beach or inside the studios, the location will play a critical part in the results of your portrait sessions. I spend a lot of time scouting locations when I'm planning my photo shoots. If it's outdoors, I'm very strict with the time of the day I'm shooting. I make sure that it is either very early in the morning or during sunset to get the best light possible. I will constantly look at the weather condition because this could drastically affect my shoot. I look at the pedestrian traffic of the location as well because depending on the type of the shoot you're doing, having a large crowd in the area can slow the shoot down. There are times that you might be working with a subject that might get uncomfortable with large crowds, especially the ones that are staring at them. So you really want to put this into considerations as well. I have more control with my environment if I'm shooting indoors, but I would still make sure that I plan ahead, specifically my lighting setup and the backdrops I will use to set the right mood for the shoot. Next is probably the most important fundamental element of any type of photography. That is to learn how to light your subjects properly. A good photographer knows how to use the light that is available for them to their advantage, whether it is natural or artificial light. As time goes by, I learned how to use light effectively to achieve what I'm looking for in my shoots. I learned how to manipulate it using modifiers such as reflectors and softboxes. I learned to use the light to my advantage, like when I'm shooting against it or when I'm using it as a side lighting to create dramatic photos. Lighting is a beast on its own. It's a very big topic that deserves its own video, so I will discuss more about this on a later video. But as a photographer, no matter what type of photography you are doing, lighting is a very important aspect, so make sure you spend a lot of time learning it. My next tip is to use the right background. Though your subject is the focus of your portrait sessions, finding and using an interesting background that fits the overall mood of your shot can add a lot of drama to your photo. You want to choose a background that complements your subject but not steal the spotlight from them. Play around with it. Learn how to adjust your camera settings accordingly to achieve your desired results. Which leads me to my last tip. Master your camera and learn when to use a specific lens. One thing you don't want to be doing during your photo shoot is spending a lot of time tinkering on your camera settings because this kills the flow and mood of the shoot. Most of the times, this will make your subject uncomfortable, so make sure you put a lot of effort knowing the ins and outs of your camera. You also want to be familiar with the specific strengths and weaknesses of your lenses. Some lenses are really great isolating the subject from the background, like the 72x200 or the 85mm. Some offers flexibility like the 50 or the 24x70. So make sure to plan what lenses to bring ahead of time. Taking photos of people can be fun, but can also be stressful at the same time, especially for beginners. But if you start implementing the tips I mentioned in this video in your process, it could really help you out drastically. So what do you guys think about this video? Do you guys have other things that you struggle with when shooting portraits? Feel free to comment that below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to my channel for more photography related content. See you guys in the next video.